Howdy folks, welcome back. This video we're going to do a fuel filter service on my 2012 Concours 14. I did this once before about 4 or 5 years ago, and I could not believe how nasty the filter was. Now, I don't think there's any particular problems that plague these in regards to fuel filters, but I have read stories about people having intermittent hard throttle cutouts and things like that, and it runs poorly because of a clogged fuel filter. I'm trying to do a trip at the end of this month if my medical ailments, which seem to be stacking up daily, kind of subside enough to do that. Still not 100% there, but I think I will be by the time my departure date rolls around. So I figure why not, let's go ahead and just do the filter service, because I got the parts, and we're going to cover the parts here in a second. And this will require the tank coming off and working on the tank, I should say, in the fuel filter, which is integrated with the fuel pump, of course, being a fuel pump bike, off the bike. That way we don't have to put the bike on the lift. It's actually easier to do it down on the floor, so you can just lift the tank off. There's a procedure to it. I'll show you what it is, and at that point we'll move on. But the first thing I want to do is go over the parts, because that is a little confusing, because the earlier parts fishes for the Concourses do not have a breakout for the fuel filter parts. The later ones do, and they're all the same parts. Let me show you what I mean and show you the parts kit. All right, we're over here on the computer. This is the Partzilla website. 2012 Concours 14 fuel pump. You can see that there is no parts breakout for that, with the exception of that big O-ring right there. And so you might ask yourself where you're going to get the fuel filter kit from, or the fuel filter itself. And what you do is you fast forward to 2015, which is the same damn fuel pump, same damn fuel tank. And at this point they break it out. And the fuel pump kit has got that 5 nines, and it's actually over here, kit fuel filter. So 99999-0521. That's the fuel filter kit. And you can get the fuel filter itself somewhere. I don't know where though, because I have read that you can just get the filter sock. I think Murph's Kit sells it, but this is an OEM part. So I bought the complete fuel kit, and what that covers, of course, is everything within these lines here. So you've got the filter sock, you've got O-ring, maybe several O-rings up in here, and then I bought this separately. So I have all this stuff here. So there is no service interval listed for a fuel filter replacement for the Concours 14, so I couldn't tell you what the interval is supposed to be. I think it's just when you think it needs it and when you decide to do the work. Anyway, that's what you do. If you go to a 2014, for example, let's go over to motorcycle and go to 2014, Concours 14, and then you go to fuel pump, which is the only fish that it's in. You got the same thing. You just have a fuel pump listed with, whoops, let's get that right, with no parts breakout with the exception of this big one. So you got to start at 2015 and up, and then you find that information. So let's go over and show you the kit itself. So this is what it generally looks like. They just stapled the big O-ring on there because I ordered it separately, but the kit is in his bag here. So there you go, the 5 nines and a 0521. And so you'll have the filter sock and a couple of O-rings and things like that inside there, which is really all there is to it. The nice thing about it is pretty compact, package here. So if you didn't want to do the work, you just want to bring it with you on a trip for parts availability, because you technically could do this on the side of the road if you knew what you were doing in a pretty short order. I mean, you can do that. It doesn't take up much space to store it. I thought about doing that, but I think I'm just going to replace it now, because, why not show you guys, have some content on the channel, and maybe get something out of it, and I have some peace of mind if I'm able to do this trip. Now, I say you can do it on the side of the road in pretty short order with obviously simple tools that you got on the bike. But there is a caveat to that. If you got a brim full tank, it's going to be no bueno. You're going to have to drain the fuel off. Not all of it. You got to get the majority out of the tank as much as possible. Because when we're going to flip the tank on its side and kind of support it, as long as the fuel level is down below the opening that the fuel pump is mounted, then Bob's your uncle, no problem. But the thing is, if it's above that, it's going to go everywhere. So you're going to have to figure out something on the fly if you're on the fly to do that. So in this case, I have a pretty full tank. I'm going to do off camera is just drain the tank out. Usually pump it or siphon it or something. Get it down pretty low, and then we'll go through the procedures of taking the tank off the bike and then pulling the pump out and working on the pump off the tank. I think I got enough fuel out of it now. It's reading down toward E. I guess there wasn't much in there as I thought before. Anyway, next step, we take the seat off. Kind of like that. All right, next step, we're gonna need to get this cover off here. All right, cover's off. Underneath here is just some relays and such. This is my wiring for my GPS mount. Owners take these off to run wires and things like that around through, so you're probably familiar with it. Underneath here, what we're gonna need to do is we're gonna need to take a couple things off. These two 10 millimeter, the tool, I mean, they're M6s actually, but the 10 millimeter bolts are the two top tank mounts. We're gonna take those out. We need to take these guys out, the plastics. We need to take probably these guys out as well on each side to get some room here, because we ultimately need to spread the sides out of the way. Take these guys out on each side because there are pins that go into rubber grommets on the inside on the tank itself that holds the plastic in place. So you need to free that up so you can pull the tank out, obviously. So I'm gonna take, again, this one. I think I need to take this one out. This one, same ones on that side, that one, and these two 10s up here, which again are the two top tank mounts. Move this bracket out of the way. We need to pull these side covers away a little bit and just get the things to dislodge. There it is, see it? There's this little guy right in there. And like I said, it's a pain in the ass. You don't want to pull. We may have to loosen the other ones, like down in here, just to get this to come sideways a little bit, but you don't absolutely have to. As long as it's freed up, it just gives you a pain in the ass when you put it back in. And then we can move this out of the way, just set it up there. There's your two tank bolts on the top. The other two are down here, as I showed you before. We'll get to them here in a minute. I think I'm gonna loosen up a little bit more, see if we can get this thing to move over. But you know, you don't have to. You can have a helper just help you out, and you can do this no problem as far as that goes. But you have to free this up. Took that one out, went to take the battery cover one out on the right side. Battery cover. And then we can get in here and just dislodge this guy, like I did on the other side. All right, so you see you got some space there now. All right, so what we do now is take these two guys out and disconnect these drains or vents or whatever they are. So we'll just do that real quick, and then we can move on to the next step. The next step, we're gonna need something to prop the tank up with. And the guides that are online show a piece of wood, and that's what I used last time. And I could have sworn that the piece of wood was identified by length in the guide that I read originally. I can't find that one, but I think it's like 11 inches, something like that. So we'll come up with that here in a minute, but let me take these guys out and do the vents or whatever those are. This thing needs to be propped up. See? Comes right up now. We're gonna lift the thing up in the air and prop it, because we got to get some stuff underneath. You can see it's pretty light, so most of the gas is out of it. I think it's about 13 inches long. Said the wife. We need to get down there and do a couple things. I'll try to get you down the camera to show you that. Okay, right underneath here is your high pressure fuel line. High pressure being a relative term, because this is not high pressure like you'd see in other fuel injected vehicles, automobiles, and diesel engines and so forth. It's only rated according to the service manual at 44 psi. So when I say high pressure, I guess I mean it's higher pressure than you'd see in like on a carbureted bike, even one with a fuel pump. There's a way to squeeze this thing and release it. You know, it's kind of like the Chryslers have the red clips that hold the wires together. There it goes. See, it popped up? All I did was push on it from those two. Please note that how to release this fuel line is only applicable to about 2015 models and earlier, because at that point they use a totally different fuel line, so I can't really give you any guidance on how to get that one out. And then you can pull on it and it'll release all the way. So all you really do is use two fingers and push this way. I'm kind of remembering this as I go. Then should be able to just slide the hose off once it's fully disengaged. Like that. So there's like an O-ring in there. But if I can show you the inside of it from over here, I'll show you what it looks like on the inside. All right, so basically that's what it looks like inside there. You can see it. That looks pretty good, so we're gonna leave that alone. Now there is two wires. I forgot to mention that. There's two harnesses rather, two plugs. I think they're accessible on that side. You can take them off before, you can take them off now, but I'm just going to let it back down, kind of slide this forward a little bit, and we'll get at those plugs. One's probably for the fuel pump itself, the other one's probably for the fuel gauge. You know, the fuel gauge side for the low fuel and so forth, most likely that's what it's for. I haven't chased the wires in the diagram, but does it matter? No. You can reach down inside here and get at these two plugs, no problem. You just got to push the releases. Yeah, so this is this one, and that's that one. So you're all set to go. Now we can pull the tank out. I'm going to pull a tank and put it over there in the cart laying sideways. There should be a low enough fuel level where the fuel in the tank remaining will be lower than the hole where the fuel pump and everything goes. We can just take it out, not a problem. Alright, so here's the bottom of the tank where the fuel pump lives. We need to free some stuff up on this side too. Naturally, these wires have to come with us. So on the back side of the tank here, there's a clip rather. 2 wires go through. So just kind of move that clip out of the way and you can pull the wires out from it, from inside of it, restrained by it, because it's got to come with it, as I said. And this one comes down from the sender. Yeah, so this one is your sender. That comes through here, comes up, and so this guy here is your sender. This guy here would be your pump. The sender's only a 2-pin. That's that small 2-pin plug in there. And this guy is a 3-pin. You got 3-pin. Get that out of the way. So really it's only, that one would just stick over the side. This is the one that's going to come with it. So hopefully, if we did our job okay, the fuel level will be down below this. But I don't know that for sure. I think it is, because it's laying sideways. Make sure there's nothing coming out the cap, which it is not. Now these are held in with some Loctite. I'm pretty sure, I'm almost positive I put Loctite when I put it back together last time. So we're going to take these out. I'm not going to do an impact on these. I'm just going to do a socket. Take these out even crosswise. And as we pull it out and it frees itself up from that big rubber O-ring, which we're going to replace, we'll see if it dumps gas everywhere. Hopefully it won't. And just keep in mind which way it goes. So the spout points to the left side where that hose goes, the high pressure hose. I'm going to inspect that off camera again a little bit further, a little closer, just to make sure. I mean, if it looks even remotely problematic, I'll just show you the pump part and then go on and order a fuel line for it and just do that work off camera. But I don't think we're going to have a problem with it. Okay, these are breaking loose all right. Now we'll spin them out. I just want to make sure they weren't frozen and I'd snap one off. That's just the weight of the pump. Make it an angle like that. 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. Here she comes. Yeah, the fuel level is well below that hole in there. Take that out because we're going to replace it. And here's your fuel pump. There's your sign. And down the bottom here is where our fuel filter lives. We got to take this all apart, but let me make sure I drain any excess fuel out of it, kind of dribble it out. Take it over to Dad's old bench and we'll take it from there. Now, as far as taking this apart to get at the fuel filter down the very bottom here, there is a tutorial I reviewed on this, but it's kind of difficult to see because it's got photo bucket watermarks all over the damn pictures. And apparently got to pay for photo bucket now, so, but I can read them enough to see what they're saying, and I sort of remember it. But we're going to have to do is we're going to have to split this way. This is the bottom half, this is the top half. Take this apart, and when we end up getting this apart, we end up getting it to the point where we just kind of peel the onion down and get it to where we can get down to the filter. Essentially, the filter is attached to the pump, if my memory serves correctly. And so when we take the pump out, the filter is essentially the only thing holding the pump in at that point when this is all apart. And then, so we'll get that apart because it's kind of stuck in there. The filter is kind of jammed in there. You'll see when we put it back together, it looks like it won't fit, but it does. Now, I know this yellow wire's got to get disconnected or, you know, routed out of the way naturally because it comes up and around. It's attached. This is your low fuel sensor, I'm pretty sure, this guy right here. And it's attached to this bracket, like made into it. And so we'll have to swing that out of the way, but it does connect down in here. So you see there's just little push pins. So when we get this ground off here, we got to take this off anyway. We'll do that first. to get the wire off, or to get the bracket off itself, we can swing that out of the way. Don't lose these screws, they're special. And not special, but special. Okay, there's your black one out of the way. And the yellow one. You just get it out from this little clip right here. And once we get that, once we get a clip back, it's not a big deal. Let me get you better in frame. Then it comes down through this little slot here. And now we can take it off. So you got to remember where this goes. So this yellow one goes to the left. And the green one goes to the right. But it might stay with it. That's probably for the pump itself. I'm not sure. I don't know. We'll figure that out. But I know this one for sure has got to get moved out of the way. So we'll write that down so we don't forget, because we have a habit of doing that. And of course, I don't have a pen here. I got everything else but a pen. Looking down at it. We should pull that right off like that. Good. Now that gets out of the way. Now let's go ahead and take this screw out over here. So these things go down from the base here all the way up to the top and hold this thing together. Kind of squishes it. Squishes it? Is that a word? Now, we should be able to get this out of the way. I'm trying to move this around to show you as we go. You see how that one comes up? It slips down. This slips down inside this little slot right there. See how it slips down inside there? That's what holds that tang on the bottom. You said tang. And we'll just get that up and set it out. We'll get it up and set it out of the way. Clean up our mess as we go. So now that is undone, and I'm pretty sure we have to do now is we gently take some, like 2 screwdrivers, and we start prying this thing up. We pop the bottom off the top, or the top off the bottom, I should say. In this case, yeah, so that'll work that way. And this goes inside there. We have to remember it kind of lays inside there. Comes around and goes back up there. So really it just comes out of here and goes up there as your ground, probably for the pump. And then it gets grounded through the body into the tank, and then the tank to the frame. So you see how that works. And there's also a ground location I'll show you inside there underneath the tank that you can't get at when the tank is in place, that you definitely want to check when you have one of these things out, because it's just good practice to do that. All right, let me go get something to do this with. Oh, this is moving already. I thought it was going to be tighter than that, but it is not. It's a little snug. All right, I just kept wiggling and pulling on it. What's hanging it up is this big O-ring right here. You see this big O-ring? It's hanging up on that. And probably another O-ring. But now you just gently pull this thing out. There we go. Now here's the top part. You got an O-ring up in here. And you got an O-ring there. And I forgot what this thing is. I remembered looking it up before. I don't remember what this is. But anyway, full of gas is what it is. We're going to change out that O-ring, and we're going to change out this big O-ring here. Goes on this main tube, so let's take that one off at least. You just got to kind of wiggle it up, and now the motor's inside here. So this is where we're going to have to disengage this other one now, this green wire. Right there, because that's connected to the motor. So we're going to have to take the motor out, because like I said, the pump is on the bottom. The filter's on the bottom. Doy. Hello. McFly. There we go. I should note at this point, something I forgot to mention when I was taking this pump out. It shouldn't really be that easy to separate the pump from the filter. The filter is down at the bottom of that white part against the aluminum base. That filter should be really stuck into the pump, and usually you have to pry it out. But it just came out pretty easy, so it must not have been in very firmly. Not to say that it was actually letting any fuel or dirty fuel go by it, but still you may have to prise the pump from the filter at this stage. Just wanted to mention it. Yeah, so there's your pump. Just went down in there. We can pull it out like that. We'll just set it aside right now. Now we can pull this whole housing off, like so. Get that out of the way. And on the bottom is your filter. So you can see these look pretty cruddy after they've been in there for a while. You see how it's kind of mashed in there? That's how it goes. It's kind of scrunched in there. So when you go to put a new one back in, that's just the way it's going to be. We'll just pull that out and look at it. Not terrible, but kind of dirty. Considering I think the old one, the newest, look at all that junk coming off of it. I mean, these things pick up, you know, gas is dirty. It really is. Gas is very dirty. And we'll talk about service intervals later, because I mentioned it already that there isn't in the service manual. Well, my opinion is on it. It's probably irrelevant. We'll talk about that later when we get done with this. So now we have this all taken apart now, we're ready to go. All we have to do is just clean everything up and start the reassembly. You can see down inside here, it is pretty dirty down inside the bottom of this thing. Not terrible, but you know, you can see that filter again is pretty junked up. And I'm sure it's probably flowing fluid just fine, because those spots in it I think are made into the filter. They're like part of the structure of it, but you know, it's pretty dirty. It's not bad though. It's not as bad as the first one, but you can see, like I said, you're getting a lot of crud off of this thing. You know what we ought to do is hit it with some brake clean and see what comes out of it. And then, by the way, there is an O-ring on the top of this. Hopefully it's in there. I'll replace it. I think it is. You know, you can, like I said, this thing is just hoarding a crap load of junk. It's just really, you know, and you can see there's some particulate? Yeah, particulate in there as well. So, you know, how often you do them, I don't know, but you could probably just clean these old ones up and put it back in, to be honest with you. I've heard that before too. People on the road having problems with them. They get, you know, they fill up with gas from some freaking rinky-dink podunk place. The next thing you know, it starts misfiring with a lean code or FI code. And then next thing you know, they pull the pump out and the thing's all full of crap. So they clean it out and dump the gas and go get some fresh shit, and you know, they're done. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much, it isn't really hard to do it. It's not a big job as far as difficulty goes. Not the easiest thing getting it back together, but that's because everything got to slide together with the O-rings. But we'll put a little bit of silicone grease on them, which is probably, I didn't have that back when I did the one originally, the original one. Well, anyway, let me finish cleaning this out. I think I'm going to use soap and water on this instead and give it a good flush. All right, here's the contents of your kit. And when you buy the whole kit, filter, big O-ring, not the big one, but this one for the top of that. Two smaller O-rings, one's got to go in there, one's got to go in there. And then, well, I guess you could lose the screws. Go ahead and lose the screws when you take them out, because you buy the kit, you get new screws with it. So there you go. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take the filter out. You see how nice it looks, because it's white and clean. You know, gas is dirty. It really is. And you know, this bike's been sitting around way more than I would have liked it to be sat around. Here's your new filter again. So being it's sitting around for so long, I mean, I've ridden it some, but undoubtedly there's probably some water in this gas as well. And that doesn't play too well with this, even with the filter and so forth. So it's just a good idea. I think before a trip, every couple of years, 3-4 years or so, assuming I'm still riding in 3 or 4 years, which is debatable at this point, not a bad idea to change these guys out when it's not too hard to do. Now remember, when you look at the old one, whatever the hell I did with it, that one's kind of scrunched up, you know, folded up. Here it is. If it was a snake, it would have slithered away. So you see how this one is kind of scrunched up in there? That's what we got to do with this one. We got to stick it in and scrunch it up. So not a big deal. Well, it is a big deal if you're a little bit adverse to scrunching a brand new filter, that you don't have another one in case it breaks or something. These are pretty resilient though, I would imagine. Pretty hardy. Kind of like a man-witch or something. Not that kind of man-witch. God, you guys got dirty minds, swear to God. That's why I love you. I think they would have made a little bit more room for this as far as getting it in goes, but nope. We got to scrunch her a little bit more. You just got to scrunch her in. See, there's the little wings on the top of it. You can see them on this one too. They go around this portion, which is kind of protruding in. So all you got to do is get that in now. And you're good. You're golden. Make sure it's down in where it needs to go. Kind of scrunch it in. Scrunch it. That's it. Just get it dirty, why don't you? So if you look down it from the top, you can see that the little thing is poking through that the side of the pump, well, actually this one here, presses into this guy right there. And that little pin, I guess, goes between those two little dealios there. You know, those two little wings on it. You can see them here. I think the pin rides in there. All right, so what I'm going to do is get these O-rings changed out here. I guess this is less of a how-to and more of a what the hell's he doing type thing, because I honestly don't remember exactly what I did. It was years ago, but I got, whoa, wow, stay there, knock it off. But you know, I can figure it out, and it'll come back. Another one goes up in here. Pull that guy off top of there. It also covers up the, I guess that would be the positive terminal. I'm gonna break out another can of brake clean. Break it out, get it? Whoops, which one's the new one? Here it is. That'd be the new one. Nice and supple. Actually, you know what? We don't want to do that. We want to put it on, oh no, that's fine. We put it in here. I was gonna say we put it on the mail section first, but I don't think it really matters. All right. See if she'll go on without too much hassle here. Oh, no problem. Pull it back off just to make sure it's in. See, I guess it does go there first. You should put it on this side. Do that next time you do it. Put it on this side first. That was dumb. Who thought of that? Nice. That feels good. That one's in. That one's in. We can set that one aside because we got to do this yet. So this I remember being a little tricky with this thing going back in because it's got to be kind of straight. And as you saw, that filter doesn't like to play nice with others. So what we're going to do is try to get the thing in so we can seat this pump. And can you see? I hope so. Kind of just presses on there. It's got to be centered. You can see there's a center of it. And we'll put it in and scrunch it up at the same time. It's a little tricky. This part is a little tricky, I got to admit. It's fiddly. Good time to mention that in the tutorial I read, it suggests that you take the pump and the filter separate from the housing and actually pre-fit them together a couple times. You know, push them together, twist them together, push it in and out a few times to kind of pre-fit it. Yeah, see, it's a very, very tight fit, so you gotta get it exactly right and really give it a good press. It's very hard to get in. This is the part that I was remembering now that's like, you really gotta press the crap out of it to get it in. I'm wondering if I should try some sort of lube, but I don't know if I want to put anything like a grease in there or something, but a little silicone lube, let's try that. Silicone spray? Ain't gonna hurt shit. Like I said, this is the fiddly part. This is hard. Gotta get everything lined up right and give it a really good shove. It's tight on there. All right, what you gotta do is put the filter in, put this in, turn it around till it starts, and I don't really like putting it directly on this end here where this thing is, but you just turn this over and kind of wiggle a little bit and give it a really, here, hear it? There it goes. Now it's gone all the way, or as far as it's gonna go. But you know, we got it on there as much as we can get it on there. Yeah, it's not going anymore. So I don't think that's going anywhere. It's a very, very tight fit with that filter on the bottom of the pump. So as long as it's good, then you can move on. But that's the hard part. That's a really hard part to do. That's the only part that I really don't like about this. And I remember from last time, vaguely, where I really had to, I don't even remember if I hit it with a hammer, maybe. I don't think so, though. I'm not going to do it this time either. But you can just tell it is very, very, very tight fit. So we got her as good as she's going to get. So now that the filter is in, we messed around with that for way too long because basically I don't know what I'm doing. That's not going to go anywhere with that kind of pressure on it. Like I said, it's tight. We can't even pull it out. So we're going to leave her. You notice it came out pretty easy before though, because we were pulling on the top here, which was connected to the motor with those O-rings. So that provided enough force to pull that out apparently. Otherwise it would have stayed because like I said, this is really tight. Yeah, it ain't going anymore. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, I triple checked that is on there tight, and it is on there tight. Like I said, it's a very, very tight fit. So you just got to push it on. Do what you got to do. So the next step is we got to slide this body back down on top of the main assembly, I guess you want to call it. And remember, oh, how'd this go? Well, it's only going to go one way, dummy, because that hole is right there. It's got to go for this pipe right there. Doy. So, and that got to, you know, that's another thing. That's got to clear, the filter's got to clear that to get through. So you got to kind of push that out of the way. It's a tight fit. It's kind of a pain in the ass, but there we go. It'll just push right past that filter. And we're back down where we need to be. Actually, we're not. Now we're back down where we need to be. That's a little bit better, isn't it? Doi. We'll leave that over there because they're both going to go that side. Because remember, we have the little channel over here for these wires to go in. The other one comes up, goes to that screw, the new ones we got for the ground. So we got to take this guy here, the big one, said the wife, and put it on there. I'm assuming since that goes directly down to this pipe, which is the outlet, this is your pressure side, which would make sense. It has a, for the relative size of the pipe at least, it's got a Famunga size O-ring on it. Famunga cheese. New O-ring, new O-ring. We already got the new O-ring in there, so we're good there. That's where we push down on to get that other side to get the filter in. So I'm pretty sure what this is a pressure relief valve, or just a relief valve or a pressure control valve. There's a spring in it. And I'm thinking what it does is it regulates the pressure so it doesn't overpressurize the system. That's what I'm guessing at least, but you know, I've been wrong before once. So I'm gonna put a little bit of silicone spray on here. That's not gonna hurt nothing if it gets into an injector. Just blow through and the engine will burn it. Now we slide this guy on. Hope my arm's not in the way. I'm sorry, I'm trying my best here. All right, I had to move that over a little bit to get it to line up to the hole and make sure that this black wire is not between the body. I started to pinch it and then I said, whoops. So it has to go inside there and away from the body. You see now it's sitting flush, so now it's away from there. And this side as well. So that, it felt really good popping in. So a little silicone spray helped a lot, because this just comes up again and goes up into this spot here for a ground. And then we got to put the top on it here, which is this part here. So that's what we're going to do. Now remember, if you recall, the little tab down here sits inside there. So all we're going to do is just do that. We're going to sit it down inside. Like that. It goes inside the little slot down there. You remember the yellow wire? Follow the yellow wire road. Goes inside there. That goes up there. These both go down into there, and then the yellow goes to the left. So we'll go ahead and use these new screws since they were so kind to give them to us. Didn't want to start. I would expect one to be a little longer than the other because of that extra thickness of that ring connector, but alas, that is not the case. Oh, tight. And we'll double check, triple check. Tight. All right, ground's hooked up. Remember, this guy, nothing's pinched. I can see that the black wire is free. And we're gonna go inside this guy here with the green, which goes to the right. Push it down inside there. And then the yellow one, which I think actually goes inside this black one, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, because it helped hold it in place. We put this inside here as well. Goes to the left. Yeah, yellow to the left pin. Make sure that it's inside where it needs to be. I think I will put that on the inside of the green one. It seems to want to fit better that way. Yes. Okay, pins are hooked up. Got a good connection on them. They don't feel too loose. Yeah, those are fine. I don't want to tighten those up and take a risk of deforming them. It's got good contact now. Let's leave well enough alone. I did take the ground off the bottom of it because I wasn't sure if the when it wouldn't come up, I wasn't sure if this stud was part of the issue, but it is not. It is made into the base here. So off camera, I'll get all this back together and then we'll go put it back in the tank. Okay, and voila, there we are. So there's the old filter. And you saw the new filter. The only tricky part again is to push this onto the pump. That's really difficult. But once you get it lined up and give it a good push, you kind of hear it go, brrr, you know, like that plastic against plastic feel. I hope the microphone caught a little of that. That was the second amount of movement that I got from it doing that. You got to push hard on it. So it is just the way it is. So we're ready to go. Put in that new big O-ring in and get it back in the tank. I'm going to clean the bolts off camera. Might run a thread chaser, just not a tap, but a thread chaser through the the holes on the tank itself, clean the bolts with brake clean, and then we can put fresh Loctite on them. Okie doke, got the new O-ring in. I'm just gonna put a very, very thin layer of grease on the outside of it. I just like to do that on these O-rings because as this thing smushes in, it actually needs to move on this, fixed on this plate. So it just allows it to, I think, seat better. It's just a personal thing, but just the way I do it. I'll blow the dust off of this thing. I double checked any leftover parts. The only thing left over is the old O-rings and the 2 screws that we replaced. So remember, it goes that way, the hose, because this is the front of the tank up to your right, and this is the back of the tank where I'm at. So all we're going to do is shove her in. All right, get some blue Loctite going. One of the tutorials, well actually the only one available I found now, says you might as well put new bolts in. I'm thinking to myself, why would you do that? These are not special bolts. They may be a special length, but they are just standard M6 flange head bolts. There's absolutely no reason to replace these unless there's a problem with them. Like for example, if you had a Concours that had been sitting, you know, somewhere for ages and ages and these things were corroded because the tank was corroded or something, then I might be able to go along with that. But I can't go along with it if it's these are in this condition here. There's just no reason. No reason to do it. I got those other 2 a little too, I just wanted to spin them up a little bit and I got them a little too far. Just gonna bring them up till they touch. And I'll do them by hand. Naturally, there is a torque spec on these, but do I care what it is? Well, yeah, I care what it is, but it doesn't matter. I know how to tighten, how tight to tighten. I know how tight to tighten an M6 bolt needs to be. I need to go back to grammar school. I know how tight it needs to be because I've snapped off enough of these, so click and so forth. Ain't going nowhere. All right, we're good there. So those are fine. New O-ring, probably didn't need to replace this. I just choose to because I can, and they're not that expensive. So keep this around for something else. So all we need to do is just turn the thing up right now and see if there's any leaks around it. Of course, there probably will be, knowing my luck, because there's enough gas. Ain't got no gas in it, but there's gas in this, enough to do this part. Well, there's rust inside this one. You know, this one must come from up here. This is probably where when it overflows or when you're putting gas in, it runs down there. That means when I put this back in, I'm gonna run some WD-40 down that. There's a little rust in it, you see? Never saw that before, but there's definitely rust. That's got to be that. This most likely is the vent then inside the tank, because the tank doesn't have a lick of rust in it. I mean, tank's never been licked that I know of, but it does not have a lick of rust in it. You never know where this tank has been, though. Yep, that'll be this one here for the vent. Yeah, we're good. No leakies, so we need to go back on the bike. Oh, you know, before I do that, I want to show you this. This is the main ground, probably electrical ground, because you got 3 of them together. So probably for the ECUs and things like that. You want to check this when this tank is off. There's no reason not to. What the hell is that from? A little washer from something. Oh, that's a plastic washer, is it not? Oh, who cares? Yeah, it is. Anyway, make sure this is kept clean, of course, which I'm doing my best to do exactly that. I'm going to cover this up with a rag and blow this all out. And then we'll just check this, make sure it's tight. It's very important to check that ground and make sure it's good. You might as well check the other stuff that's in here too. There's a bolt there for something. You can check these 2. Anything that's underneath the tank you want to check now while the tank is off. So I'll do that off camera. Then I'm going to do a time warp and we'll get this back together. All right, we're at the point we can test it before we put everything back together. Now I'm gonna see, this thing's probably gonna pump a little bit because it's empty when you turn it on. Actually, let's turn this off on the switch. Let that come up and then we'll turn this on and listen to it. There it goes. There it goes. Yep. All right, let's start it up and make sure it works. I don't see any gas leaking. It's always a good thing. Sounds good. Charging. Battery is a little low. Hadn't been running in a while. I don't know, I might change that battery out. It's a few years old, just in case. Anyway, let me button the rest of it up and then we're done. All right, folks, that's it. A couple of pearls of wisdom for putting this thing back in. I did forget to tie the wires up to the backside of the tank with that little clip, the wires that come from the pump and the fuel sender. So I did that in situ, bent over. Now my back hurts again, of course. Oh well, the way it is. Don't forget to do that. The wires on the bike side get pushed down when you try to push the tank in. It just pushes them right down. So tie them up with a wire tie or something and it'll make your life a lot easier. I probably did it last time and I forgot to do it this time. But I fished in there and got them plugged in, no problem. I double checked the fuel line coming off, the high pressure line, off camera just to make sure it wasn't leaking. I undid everything and lifted the tank up and it was just fine. But I would still love to replace that line just for a peace of mind if I could get one, but it's discontinued. Then again, I've never heard of one going bad. So I seriously doubt rather that it's necessary to do. Fuel filters though, I'm pretty sure you need to do this pretty regularly. I cannot give you an official interval because it's not in the service manual. I think it's been about 4 or 5 years since I did it and you saw how dirty the damn thing was. So I would say, use your best judgment based on your mileage and how much you ride and where you get gas. You're getting gas in some podunk place over and over again. Chances are they may have dirtier gas than like a racetrack or something in a newer station with filters, maintenance done on their fuel pumps. The filters on the fuel pump side of it. So maybe the gas is cleaner. I don't know. Never know. But these get pretty dirty. Some I wanted to do before a trip. Hopefully I hold up. I'm sure that this will hold up. So anyway, if you like what you saw, you know what you need to do. Subscribe, ring the bell, like, share it with your friends. You get notified when I put more crap like this up. I have to do more work on it. I will do that off camera, like flushing the brakes and do other maintenance stuff. Other than that, we're done. As always, thanks for watching. Don't just repair, restore. We'll catch you on the next video.